Chapter 495. Even though his body had fully recovered, he couldn't open his eyes. The reason was the sluggish restoration of his inner energy. Under ordinary circumstances, he would have been helpless in this state, but now he knew there was one method he could employ. A method only Ydir El could execute. It was the same approach he had tried on Kishir, directly inspecting the power of the awakener within. Normally, he would have waited a bit longer for him to wake up on his own before attempting it. However, considering the sages and the other members of the Star of Nagran had appeared, there was no time to delay. Nothing would serve as better proof that I can precisely see and manipulate the insides of others than this. If it seems too difficult to manage, then I will stop right away. Ydir took a deep breath and focused his mind, confirming that the member that had left for the meal had not yet returned. A gold light flared in one of his eyes, and red energy extended from the veins on the back of his gloved hand. Moments later, energies sleeping within Hosanna's body glowed and revealed themselves before Ydir's eyes. So far, so good. This works well even on others. Perhaps due to having practiced several times on Kishir, Ydir found it much easier to inspect the insides than before. With caution, Ydir quickly scanned Hosanna's interior, making sure the strong redstone energy intertwined his hand didn't manifest too intensely. Like all other awakeners, there was a red-hued power underneath Hosanna's belly. However, it was incomparably smaller than Kishir's, and the energy flow seemed insignificant. It was like a candle on the verge of going out. Sharing energy, as I did with Kishir, could be dangerous. Let's start by gently stimulating it. Ydir removed his gloves and revealed his reddened hand. The moment his fingers touched, the energy within Hosanna jolted as if pricked by a needle. Simultaneously, Hosanna's body also responded violently, like a fish speared by a harpoon. Ah, ... His eyes remained closed, but his breathing grew significantly stronger and his heartbeat quickened. As his body started moving, the previously stagnant energy began to flow as well. Until now, the energy had been faint like a puddle in a drought, but it became clearer, following the rhythm of the heartbeat. Though it looked strained, it was undoubtedly effective. Confirming this, Ydir started to move his hand that lay over Hosanna's jittering energy. The awakener energy, essentially of the same redstone origin, reluctantly began to follow like a toddling child. As the stagnant energy became more lively, Hosanna's fingertips also started to tremble intermittently. After repeating this several times, warmth returned to his previously cold body temperature, and his cheeks and lips also regained their rosy hue. Ydir then withdrew his energy. The light in his eyes dimmed, and the violent red energy gradually calmed. He felt somewhat fatigued, even though only a few minutes had passed. But it's bearable. He continued to intensely observe Hosanna's eyelids, which looked as though they could open at any moment. After what felt like an eternity, finally, the trembling eyelids laboriously opened, revealing deep hazel eyes within. The once blurry, unfocused eyes that seemed unaware of their surroundings slowly cleared up after a few sluggish blinks. Eyes that had been vacantly scanning the ceiling turned sideways to meet Ydir's face. Hosanna, are you conscious? ... I'm Ydir El of the cavalry. Do you remember who you are and why you are here? ... Dry lips seemed on the verge of making a sound, but then stopped. Moments later, confusion, questions, and shock began to rise one by one above Hosanna's eyes. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like he has lost his memory or become foolish. Ydir had been wary because it wasn't uncommon for awakeners who had pushed their powers to the limit and neared death to suffer such fates. It was a relief. As if instinctively trying to flee, Hosanna attempted to use his abilities. However, his body merely flickered a couple of times. He couldn't even exert proper strength, let alone teleport. As expected, without a word, Yudhir raised a cord connected to Hosanna's arm to show them. In your current state, you can't use your abilities. Even if you did, it would only affect the person connected to you. So, stop wasting your energy. If you want to live, I recommend you rest without exerting yourself for a few years. Hosanna attempted to speak but ended up coughing softly from their parched throat. Yudhir lifted a finger and created a small droplet of water. You're probably parched. Drink this first. Hosanna breathed slightly faster, as if anticipating an attack. Just like the brothers Gale and Doyle, they seemed to be afraid of Yudhir's very existence. Just open your mouth. I'm controlling the amount of water for convenience. Reluctant to open his mouth, Hosanna left Yudhir no choice but to support his head and gently force his jaw open. When a small stream of water flowed slowly into his mouth, Hosanna finally swallowed it, eyes flickering cautiously. It resembled a timid dog accepting water. After sipping the small amount of water over an extended period, Hosanna seemed to sag with exhaustion, as if he had just completed a monumental task. His eyes seemed to struggle to stay open. It appeared that this was the limit of his physical strength for now. You're awake, and that's enough. We will talk later. ... Seeming unfazed, Yudhir watched as Hosanna drifted back to sleep. His large eyes harbored questions about Yudhir until the end. Yudhir, I'm back. Got caught up eating and lost track of time. Not long after, the member of the cavalry who should have been on watch returned. He hadn't even considered the possibility that Hosanna had awakened. Instead of pointing out the crumbs on the cheerful member's face, Yudhir handed him the cord tied to Hosanna's arm. Hosanna woke up briefly. He drank some water and went back to sleep. But this means his recovery will speed up considerably. What? Don't let your guard down just because he can't use his abilities. Keep it a secret that he has awakened until the commander gives instructions. I think we should also reduce the number of people monitoring him to just a few. Now I will be going. What did you say? Ignoring the astonished cries behind him, Yudhir left the room. His expression appeared intensely serious, but it was not because Hosanna had woken up. It was because of the man he was soon to meet in the briefing room upstairs. He probably won't be too pleased either. If he reported that Hosanna had woken up, he would inevitably have to tell Kishir what had happened while he was awake. He was confident that he could cleanly explain and make understandable the reasons for using the power of the red stone and its aberrant effects. Yet, Yudhir couldn't help but feel a slight worry and concern that he knew would inevitably flit across Kishir's face, no matter what he did. Facing a giant monster alone had been easier for Yudhir than that momentary expression. But the unfamiliarity, while still uncomfortable, was no longer painful, which was quite strange. Stopping in his tracks, Yudhir ascended the stairs with a suddenly softer expression. That day, many things within the cavalry had changed before nightfall. The number of guards constantly surrounding Hosanna had increased from 1 to 2, and Lusan began to frequent his room as if it was his own dining room. In addition, security was tightened to prevent unauthorized persons from entering the area, and news of Hosanna's waking up was only to be known by the members in charge of surveillance and the deputy commanders. Aside from that, the number of personnel securing the entrance to the cavalry headquarters had also doubled. However, thanks to a clever arrangement of party preparations and dance practice, this change was not visible on the surface. No one knew that the innermost depths of the cavalry headquarters, which seemed preoccupied with the upcoming party and receiving awards, were actually becoming increasingly solidified in preparation for what would follow. People were more interested in the ongoing trials of political machinations, the new and beautiful jewels that nobles were acquiring, or whether the emperor would make an appearance at the upcoming party, than in any changes within the cavalry. And this included Duke d'Arca, who had also ordered a special gift to be prepared for the cavalry. Finally, the day of the party to honor the cavalry dawned. The official start time of the event was around sunset, but the members woke up as if it were dawn, busily polishing and training themselves. The formal wear they donned was similar to what Kishir had tailored for them during the previous harvest festival, but it looked entirely different. The belts around their waist and the outer decorations had somewhat changed. The formal wear that Kishir had designed was fundamentally simple and white, allowing for a completely different impression with just a few changes in outerwear. Members were amazed at how different they looked with the simple addition of elegant winter scarves or shawls or small fur capes that covered only their shoulders. Wow, did our cavalry always have such striking figures? Everyone suddenly transformed into nobility. It's hard to get used to. Steiber seems to have changed the most among us. Deputy Commander Steiber, who had slicked back his hair with some stylish oil for today, looked at the members and chuckled. When is the commander coming down? He should be down soon. Then we should start preparing the carriage now.